So our next speaker is Michael Lee. He's speaking from New York, and he's going to be talking about using Jekyll as your website's baseplate. Over to you, Michael. Hold up, we can't. I can't hear you. Oh,
can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, sorry about that. Had it on mute, and so you know, that's why you couldn't hear me. Let me go ahead and switch it over to my screen so that I can go ahead with my presentation. All right, so hey everyone, my name is Michael Lee. I'm a freelance developer, work-from-home father, and the author of the eventual book, Field Guide to Jekyll. For those who'd like to keep in touch, feel free to connect with me on Twitter at MichaelSueLee, or you can also find me on my website at michaelsuelee.com. Before I jump into my talk, I'd like to say a few thanks to some people. First of all, Cloud Cannon for putting on this excellent and free online conference for us Jekyll-loving folks. The Godfather, aka Tom Preston Warner. If it wasn't for your initial work on Jekyll, we all wouldn't be here. Parker Moore, and also just all the contributors to this great community and project. Oliver Pattison for helping me find a wealth of awesome Jekyll Run sites for my talk. And just about everybody else who's listening in right now. Just thank you for your time, your eyes, and your ears. So today I'll be talking about Jekyll, your website's baseplate. And you might be wondering, what the heck is a baseplate? A baseplate is a giant piece of plastic that comes from the world of Legos. And to be honest, before a few months back, I had no idea what a baseplate was. So during a family vacation in Orlando, Florida, my family and I ended up at the Lego store in downtown Disney. And it was actually my son's first time being in a Lego store. This isn't the picture that, you know, from the Lego store of my son, but this is something similar to what we saw. He had a huge smile from ear to ear, and his eyes were just jumping from Lego set to Lego set. Now, because we were at the Lego store, there was no way we were leaving without getting something for my son to take home. So we looked over all the Duplo sets. For those who don't know what a Duplo set is, it's the toddler version of Legos, but couldn't decide on which one to get him. Finally, my wife says, I know what to get him. A baseplate. We asked one of the store clerks if they had any. He walked us over to where they were and actually handed me one. And I looked down at the baseplate, which is this thing right here, and I said, seriously? To my wife, it's just a giant piece of plastic with bumps on them. I'm not going to be paying any money for this. Then my wife explained to me that the baseplate is the foundation for the creations of my son's imaginations. And basically, it holds all the different pieces together, all the different Lego pieces together, and it's a great foundation to build off of. It wasn't until we took it home and gave it to my son that I realized the true potential of the baseplate. At first glance, it looks plain and simple, but combined with some imagination and Duplo pieces, you can build all sorts of neat stuff. Now, I wanted to share some of the examples my son created, but every time I try to snap a picture of something that he had made from his Duplo set, he actually ended up destroying the creation before I could snap a picture. So what I'm actually going to show is someone else's creations. First is a blue baseplate. I think it's stuck on the side of a refrigerator. And you know, you see these two little bags of Lego men and women, little pieces of Legos, and it's like a makeshift Lego rock climbing wall that the Lego dudes and dudettes can climb on. Here's another blue baseplate that is used to, act as a canvas for a tree landscape. Or my favorite, which is a blue baseplate, basically created as a heart maze, so that you take the marble, which is in the bottom right-hand corner, and you guide it all the way to the little chicken guy at the top middle. So you might be wondering and staring at the screen and scratching your head and saying, why is this guy even talking about Legos? I thought this talk was about Jekyll, and you're actually right. As a web developer, my playground is the internet, and Jekyll has become a baseplate that I use to build websites. Like the baseplate, at quick glance, Jekyll might not seem so glamorous, but with some imagination and different web services, you can actually make some really cool things. To give you an idea of what Jekyll as your baseplate is capable of, I'll be showcasing 4 different websites. I'll also highlight some of their unique features and services so that you can see how they use Jekyll as their baseplate. The first website that I wanted to show was Katie DeCora's personal website. Katie's website is a great example of how a website could be fun and whimsical with a ton of character. It is so much fun discovering all the little bits of play that Katie has sprinkled throughout her site. Just a little hint, I highly recommend checking out the 404 or having a look at the favicon for her website. It's just a delight. Another example of just her cleverness is just her clever play on the words for the navigation up at the top right here. I'll basically translate what those links are. Hello is basically the about page for Katie's website. Card catalog is a list of categories and tags. Time capsule is actually her archive page with all her past posts, all in chronological order in a timeline fashion, which is really cool. One of the cool features of Katie's site that I wanted to point out is her use of the service Mapbox. On Katie's site, there's a really cool page called the Adventure Guide. And it is a list of her favorite hiking trails in upstate New York and other trails she's been on. Katie used some JavaScript, the Mapbox API, and some Jekyll Frontmatter to generate these beautiful tiles to go along with photos from her hiking adventures. There's also this really cool toggle. If you looked at your screen, I'll toggle it back and forth. That basically swaps out the list of hiking trails that she's gone into to a map view of all the different adventures that she's gone on, which I thought was really cool. When you click on one of the trails that she's been on, you're presented with a masthead with a very large picture of the map of the trail, accompanied by some photos that Katie snapped up on the hike. When you look at the raw markdown file used to generate each entry, you'll see that Katie defines the coordinates of the hiking trail. Then in the file that generates the entry, the coordinates are passed to a Mapbox API to generate a map of the image to be used in the header section of the entry, which I thought was really cool. Next example that I wanted to share is the Schmear campaign. The Schmear campaign is a neat site by Jeremiah Kimmelman. It is a site that holds the reviews of bagels places that Jeremiah had tried throughout New York. Now, I'm a huge fan of bagels, but reading through the Schmear campaign, it's pretty obvious that Jeremiah is a connoisseur of bagels. In each review, the name of the bagel shop, its location, hours of operation, a map of its location, and a short score of Jeremiah's bagel eating experience is front and center. I also love his use of Frontmatter and some CSS to generate these little visual subway lines that match up to the colors found on the official New York City subway map that you could see here. Like we saw on Katie Decora's website, Jeremiah also uses Mapbox to generate these little maps of the bagel shop. Jeremiah defines the coordinates of each bagel shop in the review's Frontmatter, as you can see here. And then he passes those coordinates in an includes file that uses the Mapbox API to add the map onto the page. One other cool feature I'd like to mention about the Schmear campaign is that Jeremiah provides some simple JSON APIs of the location of bagel shops, as well as his reviews. I thought this was neat because APIs are often thought to be a feature of a dynamically built website. But here, Jeremiah provides an API on a static site generated by Jekyll. Now, the third example that I wanted to share is Native House. Native House is a simple e-commerce site I had built for my wife's paper goods business. With Native House, when I was discussing the details with my wife, I decided that I didn't want to make it dynamic, and that I didn't want to set up a website where I had to handle Stripe for payment processing, didn't want to handle transactions or even listings. I just wanted to set up something quickly so that my wife would have a website to post up her creations and also sell, have them up for sale. So I turned to Jekyll along with a service called Gumroad to create a simple e-commerce site. On the Jekyll site, I made it so that each post was an item listing. Within a post, I used a series of front matter to add categories, pricing, an image, product description, and a key value pair that says is new to determine whether the item is a new item that's on the website. I then created separate listings of each item on Gumroad. I uploaded the images, set up the pricing for the item, as well as shipping costs. Once the product was set up on Gumroad, I used the automatic JavaScript generated for the item on the Jekyll post. And so the result ended up being this flow. First, a user would enter the website and see a listing of all the items Native House sold. From there, they can click on an individual post and be taken to a product page. And then once they decide on a product, they can click on this Buy Now button. And the Gumroad modal would basically pop up so that they can purchase the item that they're interested in. Finally, the last website I wanted to share about in my talk is Supportly.io. Supportly is an up-and-coming web application to help businesses manage their customer support. Supportly is a business my buddy Christopher and I are building. So as of right now, when you go to Supportly.io, it is simply a Jekyll-built website. Christopher and I, from the beginning, decided to build Supportly out in the open. And so to do this, we wanted to share both the technical aspects as well as the business aspects by doing it in a blog. We decided to get Supportly.io on GitHub Pages for the time being for a few reasons. First, by being on GitHub Pages, it's source controlled. Second, it's free, which is a plus when you're trying to build a small business. Third, we could use GitHub as a simple CMS. And fourth, paired with Jekyll, we could have a multi-author blog. So when you go to Supportly.io, you can actually click on one of the posts from the main page. And when you go into the post, you'll see that each post has a little author block. And it tells you whether the post was written by myself or Christopher. This is all controlled by some front matter that is defined as a key value pair on the Markdown file. So for author, if you set it either to Michael or Christopher, Jekyll automatically knows whether to render that or which author block to render. So if you look here, basically the post looks for the author key, and then if there is a author key, it checks to see whether it's for Michael or for Christopher, and it renders a proper include. So within these files, the include files, basically it's just a link to the image, and then a link to our personal website and our Twitter feed, or our Twitter profiles. Sorry. So now you've seen how super neat and whimsical a personal website could be from Katie Decora's website. You can make an awesome bagel review shop like the Schmear campaign, an e-commerce site on such as Native House, or a multi-author blog such as Supportly. The cool thing is, the common factor between all four of these different websites is that they're all built with Jekyll. So the next time you find yourself setting out to build a new website, first think about the website's needs. Does it need all the bells and whistles of a dynamic site? Or could you use Jekyll as your baseplate and pull in different existing services to get the job done? With a little imagination and Jekyll as your baseplate, I think you could create all sorts of neat things. Thanks, and I'd like to open it up to some questions now.
Great, thank you very much, Michael. Very cute kid, by the way.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, he's got some awesome hair. He wakes up every morning like that.
Yeah. No, I really like the idea of using Jekyll as your sort of first base for any new project, even if it's just a quick way of sort of prototyping something.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. So I'd like to start off with your book. Like, what triggered you to start writing a Jekyll book, and what are we going to see in the book?
Yeah. I think just the fact that I enjoyed building websites with Jekyll, and I knew that there was a huge community already out there, but I thought from my own experience it was a little hard kind of getting into the whole Jekyll scene if you're not really too technical, or you might know that Jekyll exists but don't really know what it's capable of. I think the first time I figured out how Frontmatter could be used with the liquid templating system, it just kind of blew my mind, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's magic. And so, just wanted to take all the knowledge that I've gained from building websites and put it into a book and put it out there for others to learn what I've learned from reading up on different tutorials and just experimenting and trial and error.
Great. And where can people find out more about the book, and when can we expect it to be out?
Yeah, you can find details about the book at my website, michaelsulee.com. That's spelled michaelsoolee.com, and at the very top there should be a banner that links to my book. As far as when the book will drop, I really wish I could tell you. I'm trying as hard as possible to put it out as quickly as possible, but I've got 2 kids, I work from home, and there's not a lot of margin in my life, and so
yeah,
definitely trying to crank it out. Yeah, definitely trying to crank it out as soon as possible. One shout out is definitely the Jekyll community. Folks like you, Mike, and Cloud Cannon, and just all the people on the Jekyll forum. Everybody have been so supportive of just chiming in and saying, hey, if you need a hand, or if you need some ideas, or if you want me to review your book, just let me know. And so, all you guys out there who have reached out to me, sorry if I haven't replied back. I'm not ignoring your emails. I'm definitely trying to shoot back and get as much help as possible and crank this out and put it out into the world as soon as possible.
Yeah, And what was your first encounter with Jekyll?
Oh man, I think it was like 3 years ago. I was just fed up for the umpteenth time with WordPress, and I was just like, I need to look for something else to set up my blog. I think I was just one of those type of people that had bought like 5 or 6 different types of hosting servers, and was hosting installing WordPress overnight and then deleting them or just letting it hang, and my posts would just be lost forever. And so I was just out kind of looking for different alternatives. And at the time, I was getting into Ruby, and a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, why don't you check out Jekyll?" And so in the beginning, it was like I just couldn't figure out how to get even Jekyll installed, because I had never worked with gems or any of that. But yeah, after I figured it out, I was just hooked. The fact that you can version it all on Git so that you never lose any of your entries. I think my website repository holds the past 3 years of my life. I really wish I could have had older posts, but yeah, that's when I jumped on the bandwagon, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people seem to come to Jekyll from frustrations of WordPress or Drupal, or one of those sort of big content management systems. And
Oh
I guess
yeah,
Jekyll's at the other end of the scale, where it doesn't try to do anything really. It just keeps it super simple.
oh
I know
yeah,
that's
for
why I
sure,
love it.
for
Um,
sure.
yeah, you had some really interesting examples of Jekyll sites there. How did you come across all those Jekyll sites?
Yeah, so like I said, I tweeted it out, and Oliver, who is a very active member of the Jekyll community site, I guess he's been collecting just all these cool websites that he's come across that were built on Jekyll. And so yeah, he just tweeted a bunch of examples to me, and I kind of weeded through all the different types. And when I was thinking through my talk, I knew that I wanted to kind of have all these sorts of examples, so that if a newcomer or someone who's kind of been dabbling at Jekyll was watching this JekyllConf talk, they can see it and be like, oh wow, I thought Jekyll was just for blogging,
Yeah,
but obviously it can be used for a lot of other cool stuff. So I wanted to capture the array of what Jekyll is capable of, or what other people have done with just a little imagination and third-party services.
great. That's all the questions we have. Yeah, I just want to thank you very much for speaking today, and really look forward to reading your book.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.